Alright, ladies and gentlemen, well, let's talk about who I think is going to win the World Cup, because that's the question in everyone's mind, of course. Who is going to win it? Who are the favourites, and are the favourites going to take it? Well, the team I think that's going to win it is actually not one of the favourites, not one of the overwhelming favourites. It is actually, I wouldn't say an underdog, but if you look at the bookies' odds, it definitely feels like it is an underdog, and that is Germany. And I am a little bit biased here, as you could tell. But the reason I actually have Germany to win this World Cup is a reason that I mentioned on my Bayern YouTube channel before the season started, and that was that because the World Cup is during the season, and because Germany has so many Bayern players in their squad, I think their cohesion will already be very strong from the get go, and I think that they're just gonna carry that. They're gonna grow into the national team. They're gonna grow into playing with the other players that aren't typically with the Bayern squad, and they're gonna grow and they're gonna get better and better. So for me personally, I think that Germany is gonna be the favourites. For me, I think Germany are gonna win it. Yes, there is an element of a bias here, but I think Germany are going to win it because of the Bayern element in their team. There's the one thing about World Cups and about national teams is always the issue of creating cohesion. It's always, oh, you got all these talented players. Now, how are we going to get them to play, the way we want them to? Germany don't have that issue. They've got Hansi Flick, who the former Bayern manager. They've got Hansi Flick as the Germany coach. And then they've got the Bayern players, seven Bayern players, I think it is, in the Germany team that already that play for Bayern. So they already have, they're already used to each other. Kimmich, Goretzka, they basically play next to each other every single week. You've got Neuer in goal. Then you've got Gnabry, Sané, Musiala, Müller. Like you've got so many players that play with each other week in, week out, train with each other week in, week out. The Gnabry and Kimmich connection is a very, very strong. Whenever you see Gnabry score, it's usually due to a Kimmich pass. So like those two already, they've been playing since their Stuttgart days, since they were young lads. So you've got this kind of connection with the team already, and I think that's only going to carry them forward. Whereas other teams, they'll struggle. Yes, they'll have the individual quality, but they'll struggle once really pushed. And I think Germany don't necessarily have that. I think Germany will have the cohesion element due to their Bayern players. And then you add in the Dortmund players as well, with the likes of maybe Mukoko and the likes of... who's going to start? I guess you could say from the Dortmund squad. I don't think Mukoko will necessarily start. I don't think Schlotterbeck will necessarily start. Debatable, really, but I don't think he will. So it really boils down to whether those two will start, and if they will, okay, there's a little bit of connection there. Not the greatest, because obviously you're looking at defense and attack, but there is a connection there. So like you've got a lot of situation where you have some connections to some players. You could even make the argument of, well, Gundogan, he plays for Manchester City. Pep Guardiola, the Bayern players, the likes of Kimmich, Müller, they've played with Pep Guardiola, so naturally, they'll be used to that kind of style. I think that's a bit of a reach, if I'm being honest. But I think just the connection, just the interconnectability between the team makes Germany a much bigger threat than a lot of people will give them credit for. And I think that's the reason why I take them as the favourites. And I think they're going to win it, actually. I think in terms of squad, Brazil has the best squad by far. But I think Germany just has the best team. And I don't mean that by players or whatnot. I mean that just generally the cohesion element of a World Cup. And I think that's very important. I think that's an element that you can't necessarily understand, write down, look at statistics and facts, but I think it's an element that just naturally plays a significant role, especially like in a training camp, especially like a long in a long World Cup. It's 4 weeks in a long situation like that. I think that cohesion really plays a pivotal role, and that's why I think that Germany are looking very strong, and it's why I think France, despite the fact that they have so many issues with their squad, will look very strong defensively, at the least because of Lucas Hernandez, Upamecano, Pavard. You've got that kind of element as well of like a lot of like French players, and obviously Coman up further to up top. But you've got that element of like a lot of French players playing at the same club. That that's always going to help them a lot. So that's sort of my take. It's the intangibles that I look at more than the tangibles, because I think with the tangibles, a lot of the countries are very, very close. Obviously, there are some favorites, but I think a lot of the countries are very, very close. That I think the intangibles are sometimes more important to look at than the actual tangibles, because you're not always gonna like get the best out of your players. You're not always gonna get them at 100% because of different formation, different styles. They're not playing with their club; they're playing with the country. Different emotions as well. Some players, they need to have a cool head to perform at their best. Other players, if they get very emotional, which sometimes you do for your country, you just play completely different. So it's things like that I look at more. The more equal, the more samey the teams are in terms of quality. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, ladies and gentlemen. Which is why for me, Germany are gonna win the World Cup. It's a bit of a take that's out there, but at the end of the day, I do think that's gonna happen. So that's my thoughts. Let me know what you all think, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know who you think is gonna win. Let me know which country you're from. I'm assuming you're supporting them if they're in the World Cup, and if you're not from a country that's in the World Cup, let me know which country rather you are supporting for this World Cup. Or if you just if you're just supporting the players, let me know as well. With all of that said, ladies and gentlemen, I will see all of you in the next one. Until then, have a nice day. Peace out, and as always,